Demodocus is the name of the blind poet in the Odyssey who sings about the War of Troy at the feasts where Odysseus has landed on the island of Phaeacians on his last lap of his journey home to Ithaca. Demodocus. The poet was allegedly blind, one who could make things, that is, make constructions of words that produced images in the minds of those around the hearth fire, listening as they gnawed their hard crusts into something digestible. The last stage in the transformation of earth into plant, into grain, into flour, into bread, into a human metabolism, but not the very last stage, that being the further transformation of human beings back into earth, as the poet transformed the villagers' minds, or the minds of royalty or of urbanites, into scenes of heroic gestures, or great slaughters, the crows and the vultures ripping out choice, moist organs for their sweetmeats, or brave and wily leaders suddenly pausing in the midst of battle to carry on extended conversations with nobody in evidence there to any onlookers, only to the interlocutors themselves, to emerge with an altered understanding of the unfolding strategy of the gods, or these unseeing word crafters combining and recombining phrases that they had received from previous tellers, talkers, reciters, recounters, who themselves also were bricoleurs, who had put together the bits in their workshops into sequences that fit the restrictions of meter and whatever propriety was appropriate in that particular place and age, and created in their listeners' imaginations recitations at feasts, much as the one they were engaged in at that very moment. The blind poet could not see it, could not see the scene depicted by the words and epithets he employed, but his rhapsodizing, which was nothing really but the language and oral conventions, constantly recreating themselves through his tongue, through him as a tongue, as a moist, warm organ on the tip of an amphora, filled with echoes, but his rhapsodizing set the ears of his listeners vibrating, and in tune to these vibrations, these incorporeal entities engaged in dramatic activities that actually consisted of flashes of electricity over the nerves, like lightning at nerve endings, like clashes of bronze sword against broad shield, like horses' hooves clattering across rocky fields, like sparks rising from funeral pyres, and floated windborne over to laurels and oaks and olives, and consuming them, voiceless, wicked laughter of the generations of mankind engaged in ceaseless slaughter, unlike these simple farm folk, these idle noble folk, these sophisticated cosmopolites, prestidigitating multivalent phrases over wine and fish and olives imported from other parts of the Mediterranean on the triremes of merchants and both hired and enslaved sailors, who at times themselves sank to the sea's bottom, joining the merchants and navies and pirates and all of those our collateral cousins who had declined ever to leave the sea with the first amphibians.